You are listening to Housekeepers Chat by the United States Department of Agriculture from 1926. Disclaimer: this is read from a historic archive document. Do not assume content reflects current scientific knowledge, policies, or practices. This broadcast was aired 25th of October 1926.
Do you remember what I promised you for this week? Yes, a recipe for spare ribs and sauerkraut. I made that promise in good faith, too. Now it seems I'll have to take it back. Saturday morning I visited the Bureau of Home Economics. Aunt Sammy, said the lady who gives me recipes, I saw some fresh sauerkraut in the market this morning. It made me think of you. Not very flattering, but that's what I get for talking about food so much of the time. Speaking of sauerkraut, said I, do you know an intriguing way to cook spare ribs and sauerkraut? Certainly, but I wouldn't serve it this month. It simply isn't done, not in my part of the country. I told the recipe specialist what I promised you last week, but even that didn't move her. So we compromised. I postponed the sauerkraut and spare ribs till next month, in exchange for a delectable recipe for fried apples and bacon. Most everyone knows how to fry apples, but how many people peel them and cut them in cubes and serve them with crisp bacon? I thought you'd be interested. Everybody have pencils and paper? Here's the recipe, just the way it was told to me. Select good, tart apples. Peel them. Cut them in 3/4 to 1-inch cubes. Fry the bacon in a heavy skillet. As soon as the slices of bacon are crisp, remove and drain them on clean brown paper. For frying the apples, you will need about 1/4 cup of the bacon fat. Pat the apples in the hot bacon fat. Pile them up rather high in the frying pan. Sugar to taste. Be sure you use enough sugar. Apples fried this way require a little more sugar than common, ordinary fried apples. Cover the apples. Cook slowly until tender. Then remove the cover and turn the apples gently, so the pieces will keep their shape. Let them brown lightly. They are then almost transparent. Place them in a hot platter, surround them with crisp bacon. You may think the sugar and the bacon fat won't be good together. Try them and see. They make a sort of a syrup with a delicious flavor. If you don't especially want the bacon, you can use some leftover bacon fat. The apples will be just as good. I got another recipe, too, from the Bureau of Home Economics last Saturday. As soon as I answer a few of these questions, I'll tell you about it. It's very good for these cool days. Question number 1. How can I keep tomato catsup from spoiling? Your tomato catsup should not spoil if you boil it down to a desirable concentration. Pour it into hot sterilized bottles, cork tightly, and seal it immediately with sealing wax. Clean bottles may be sterilized by boiling in water for 5 minutes. Care should be taken that the bottles do not rest against the bottom of the pan, lest they crack from the intense heat. They can, of course, be placed in a wire or perforated rack, or raised by placing wooden lathes or some other improvised rack on the bottom. Question 2 is from a high school girl who wants to know how she can dry a woolen sweater so it will keep its shape. Spread the sweater, backside down, with sleeves outstretched, on several thicknesses of clean, soft material, laid flat. Measure the sweater and shape it according to dimensions taken before it was wet. Pin in place if necessary. Turn the sweater occasionally after it is almost dry. I might add here that all wool materials should be dried in a warm place, but not near a fire or in direct sunlight. Never allow woolen garments to freeze. I'm sending you a copy of Farmer's Bulletin number 1497, Methods and Equipment for Home Laundering, which gives the latest up-to-date information on washing clothes. You can also find a link to this bulletin below in the More Information section. Question number 3 is from a housekeeper who asks how to get rid of mice, which are coming in now from fields and gardens. First, be sure that all openings through which mice may enter the house are closed or screened. Fill up the holes with a mixture of cement, sand, and broken glass or crockery, or cover the holes with a sheet of metal. If the house is badly infested, set traps in several places at the same time. Mice and also rats may be poisoned, but poisons are better for barns, poultry houses, and so forth than houses. The poisons used are extremely dangerous and must be kept away from children and household pets. If poison must be used, barium carbonate is effective. One way to use it is to mix 1 teaspoon of barium carbonate with 8 teaspoons of rolled oats. Add enough water to make a stiff paste. Place this poisoned bait where rats and mice are known to run, using a teaspoon in a place. The poison may also be placed on fish, bread, and butter or moistened toast and placed in the runs. The next question is about the popular carrot, now scoring such a huge success in the vegetable version of curly locks. As soon as he became famous, Charlie Carrot was interviewed for one of the leading metropolitan journals.
"I owe my success,"
said Mr. Carrot,
"to the fact that I make people beautiful. Some of my friends have even been kind enough to say that I can make straight hair curl, but modesty forbids me making such a statement. I might say, however, that I am the source of at least 3 vitamins, A, B, and C. Vitamin A is found in me, whether I'm cooked or raw. Vitamin B is soluble in water. That's why people who know their vegetables use the water I'm cooked in. Vitamin C is not only soluble in water, but is also easily destroyed by meat. Cook me too long in an open vessel, and I may lose my vitamin C. But cut me up fine, and cook me by a short process, and I'm a good source of vitamin C, as well as A and B. I'm a great favorite with the kiddies, too,"
said Mr. Carrot, sticking his thumbs in his reddish-orange waistcoat in the latest interview style.
"As my secretary may have told you, I'm rich in mineral matter, especially calcium, which is essential in the building of bone structure. What I mean is, to put it bluntly, some of you Americans need more calcium than you get in your daily diets. Cook me in milk,"
said Mr. Carrot,
"and you'll have a calcium-rich combination that is hard to beat for growing children. Summarizing my good points, I'm good for both children and grown-ups. For I furnish bulk to promote intestinal hygiene, minerals to regulate the body processes, building material for good teeth and bones, and vitamins for normal growth, and the promotion of health and vigor. You may tell my public for me,"
said the versatile Mr. Carrot, tipping his green hat rakishly over one eye,
"that those who eat carrots may expect to become more beautiful by the attainment of a more perfect state of physical fitness."
And with that, he skips out of the program for today. Let's see, where were we? Oh yes, question 5. How should woolen blankets be dried? After the blanket is washed, place it over a line with a half or a fourth on one side. Squeeze the ends occasionally to remove excess water. When the blanket is dry, brush it well with a clean, stiff whisk broom. This raises the nap. The laundry bulletin, which I mentioned before, tells how to wash blankets. The last request is for a waffle recipe. Not a bad idea, that, these chilly mornings. Do you have pencils and paper so you can take it down? The ingredients for waffles are 1½ cups milk, 2 cups sifted soft wheat flour, 3 tablespoons fat, 1 to 2 eggs, 3 teaspoons baking powder, 1½ tablespoons sugar, 3/4 teaspoon salt. In mixing, fold the beaten white of egg into the batter after all the other ingredients have been added. Have the waffle iron hot enough to brown the waffle quickly and well greased, unless it is the electrically heated aluminum kind. In that case, add an extra tablespoon of melted shortening to the batter. Now we're ready for the prize recipe, the one I persuaded the Bureau of Home Economics to give me. Squash pie. And if you'd rather have pumpkin pie, all you have to do is substitute pumpkin for squash. If you keep a coal or wood fire in the kitchen for other purposes, it's well to cook squash a long time, develops the flavor. But it may not be economical to run a gas stove for an extra 2 hours. Just for the sake of flavor, even though only a low flame is needed. The Bureau of Home Economics found that when squash or pumpkin used for pie filling is cooked 4 hours, it develops a better flavor than when cooked only 2 hours. This recipe can be used for either squash or pumpkin pie. It has been thoroughly tested in the laboratory kitchen. The ingredients for squash pie are 1½ cups squash, thoroughly cooked. Canned squash may be used. 1 cup milk, ½ cup sugar, 1 teaspoon cinnamon, ½ teaspoon salt, ½ teaspoon allspice, 1/4 teaspoon mace, 2 eggs, 1 tablespoon butter. Put all the ingredients, except the eggs and the butter, in the double boiler. Bring to the scalding point. Beat the eggs well. Add them to the hot mixture. Stir until it starts to thicken. Add the butter. Bake the empty crust to a very light brown. Pour the hot filling into the pre-baked crust without removing it from the oven. Bake the whole pie in a moderately hot oven until the filling sets. Before I conclude the program, I want to remind you of the cookbooks Uncle Sam is preparing for you. The cookbooks are in loose leaf form and have the first 3 weeks' menus and recipes in them already. Extra pages will be sent from time to time. The cookbook cover and the pages are punched. All you need is a couple of notebook rings, and presto, you have a permanent cookbook. At the end of the year, when everybody has received all the recipes and menus, I'm going to send out indexes for the book. Then it will be complete. I can't help feeling elated about the way requests for the cookbook are coming in. A gentleman from Arizona has asked me for 4 copies, 1 for his wife, 1 for his mother-in-law, 1 for his sister, and 1 for himself. I can't imagine what he wants 1 for unless it's to check up on the feminine members of his household. Please, all of you, let me know what you think of the recipes. Another menu tomorrow. There'll be something special for Halloween too, before the week is over. Don't think I've forgotten about the spare ribs and sauerkraut. I'll go back to the Bureau of Home Economics sometime when winter winds are blowing chill and the snow is flying, and I know I'll get that recipe.
This broadcast was researched and produced by BreakAway Empire LLC.